this extra week, this extra time off couldn't have come at a better time for this team to let him heal up and for them to get further evaluation to see exactly where he is. But you're right, John. Wednesday and especially Thursday will be pivotal days in terms of finding out exactly where Jason Kelce is. And he's going to get the veteran day off as well. So we have to factor that in as well. So, but those days are going to be pivotal. And even Friday, even though Friday's a lighter practice, it's going to be pivotal in terms of seeing exactly where Jason Kelce is for this upcoming game.
He is John McMullen. I am Jody McDonald. That makes us the Mac and Mac guys on Birds 365, your Eagles day in, day out show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. It's not quite as big as Eagles Post Game Live, which we do here on the JAKIB Media channel as well, which is handled by our buddy Derrick Gunn, who's good enough to hop aboard with us right now. D Gunn, how was your Sunday off?
Refreshing is the best way to describe it. It's nice to have a rare Sunday off just to catch your breath and watch some other games. And got to see a couple of games that I wanted to see yesterday. Obviously, the Cowboys Washington game. So yeah, it was nice just to cleanse, so to speak, before we keep moving forward down the stretch.
Yeah, you got to clear your head, D Gunn, but
yeah,
you gotta keep your finger on the pulse as well. And you got to see Dallas and the Washington football team. And obviously, people are focused on the Cowboys, and
right.
It's hard for Eagles fans to root for the Cowboys, but that's what they should have wanted to happen. And the Washington football team currently the last seed, the 7th seed in the NFC East, but the Eagles get to play them twice in 3 weeks, home and home series. And guess what, D-Gun?
Yeah.
Cowboys put them on the tee. They hurt the quarterback. They hurt the best receiver. They hurt 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Good things have gone better for the Eagles.
Yeah, they softened them up. So thank you, Dallas, for softening up Washington as they get ready to come in. Obviously, they're still waiting for more reports on Taylor Heineke to see what his situation is. Terry McLaurin now in concussion protocol. You know how those things go.
Yeah.
Might not be a determination until Saturday before we know his status. And, of course, Terry's always been an Eagles killer, so to speak, when he plays this team. So, yeah, but the Eagles are sitting in a good place right now. They're healing up. We're still waiting to find out, Jordan Howard, the knee situation is kind of iffy. They're further evaluating Brandon Brooks to see how far along he is as well. Miles Sanders, is a dynamic of a back as he can be. He gets nicked up every now and then. So, the bye, it's funny, when the season started, we all talked about why would they have a bye so late in the season? Wow. Did the bye come at the best possible time for this Eagles team?
All right, let me follow up on one name that you just put out there. And kudos to you, D Gunn. Last Saturday, I got it from you first that it was going to be a Taylor Heineke game. We know you've got good sources. We know you've got good relations with the players. Brandon Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be week 10. It was going to be week 12. Don't talk to us till after the bye week. And it just kept getting pushed back and back. As John has correctly pointed out, the coach has been relatively upfront about injuries, more so than Doug Peterson ever was. But when it comes to Brandon Brooks, they've been kind of closed mouth. Your sources giving you anything? You guys giving you at least a feel on when, if Brandon Brooks can come back and contribute to the tail end of this season?
At this particular time, no. They're relatively hush-hush about it, and they're taking every precaution possible with Brandon Brooks. And when you look at the way this offensive line has played, the way they've been mauling people at the line of scrimmage, there's no need to rush him back. If the Eagles stay in contention, which I fully expect them to, what a nice luxury he would have whenever he comes back. If it's the second last game of the season, but there's no need to rush him right now. You look across the National Football League and especially look at some of the teams the Eagles have played up until right before their bye week that have been decimated along the offensive line, and it's been a glaring weakness. But you look at the way the Eagles have plugged and played across their offensive line. They're still mauling people, running for 200 yards. They lead the National Football League in rushing, which has tremendously helped the quarterback situation in terms of taking a lot of pressure off his shoulders. So right now, very little information out there about the Brandon Brooks situation. But if I find out something, you guys know, I'll keep you posted.
And Deacon, there's another issue on the offensive line, and that's Jason Kelce, because Jason Kelce left the field against the New York Jets. It didn't look good. I think we're all a little bit concerned. And I think everybody breathed a sigh of relief when Nick Sirianni came out and said, we got positive news on Jason Kelce. And we all know how tough Jason Kelce is. And he's going to try to go out there and play. But positive news is not he's going to play after the bye. Wednesday will obviously be a very big day. Is there any chance the Eagles could be without Jason Kelce? Because as you talk, they've been phenomenal with the replacements, the moving parts on the offensive line. But I don't think they can replace Jason Kelce. I don't.
No, that's the one spot where, if you're looking for a weak link in the armor, if he doesn't play, that could be the weak link in the armor. We've seen what has happened with Nate Herbig in there. And Nate Herbig obviously is a tremendous step down from a Jason Kelce. That's not a knock against Nate Herbig. It's just that it is what it is. And it's funny. I was told earlier in the season when Kelce was nicked up, it was a great line that says you would have to strap Kelce down to a gurney to keep him from playing in a game. If Jason Kelce can play on one leg, Jason Kelce is going to play. Now, obviously, the doctors and the trainers have the final say, but they know Jason's mental makeup. So I'm betting that as we sit here right now, I'm betting that Jason Kelce will be under center on Sunday against Washington. I would be shocked, if he's not. And again, this extra week, this extra time off couldn't have come at a better time for this team to let him heal up and for them to get further evaluation to see exactly where he is. But you're right, John. Wednesday and especially Thursday will be pivotal days in terms of finding out exactly where Jason Kelce is. And he's going to get the veteran day off as well. So we have to factor that in as well. So, but those days are going to be pivotal. And even Friday, even though Friday's a lighter practice, it's going to be pivotal in terms of seeing exactly where Jason Kelce is for this upcoming game.
D-Gun, let me give you another valuable late season bye week advantage the Eagles had. See if you agree on this one. Last week when the backup quarterback went in and played the game that he did. And again, kudos D-Gun, first one to have it Saturday last week. It's going to be a Gardner Minshew game. Both John and I are a little surprised that the root for the backup QB controversy didn't reach the levels that we thought it might, as it usually does here in Philadelphia when a guy comes off the bench and plays as well as Minshew did. The coach kind of put a kibosh on it as soon as the game ended, but we were surprised that Eagle Nation didn't rise up and say, Gardner's the guy. If there was any of that involved, having a whole week off kind of took the edge off that too. The coach took the immediate edge off it. A week off took even that much more of an edge off it. The only way Jalen Hurts isn't playing this week is if he's hurt, right?
Right. And Nick Sirianni did the exact thing he should have done. Douse that fire before it was spread like wildfire. That's exactly what you do. And I think even though people were excited to see the way, Gardner Minshew played, number one, we all understand it was the Jets. The Jets are a mess.
I always laugh at that.
And number two, we also saw Gardner Minshew's lack of arm strength, and that's why he's a backup in these situations. Now, Jalen Hurts doesn't have the strongest arm, but I think Jalen Hurts has a stronger arm than Gardner Minshew. Plus, when Jalen Hurts is right, a big part of his game is his ability to take off and generate more yardage with his feet. I don't like seeing a quarterback as a leading rusher, but in this particular case, it has served well for Jalen Hurts to have that ability to step up and take off and beat containment around the edge. The very few linebackers or safeties are going to come up and take the angle away from him once he gets to the outside. So yes, I think it was squashed exactly where it should have been squashed. Some of these coaches have the audacity to say, you know what, during this bye week, we're going to evaluate everything. Can you imagine if he had said that? It would still be talked about today. But Nick Sirianni did the right thing. Oh, no, Jalen Hurts is my quarterback when he's healthy.
He did do the right thing, and he did do a good job sort of dampening any potential controversy. But you brought up a good point, D-Gun, with Jason Kelce in the back, your Gurney story. And we all know that's Jason. We saw him hyperextend his elbow last year. I thought he was done for the season.
Absolutely.
He missed one play, went into halftime. It was the play before the half. He came out. He couldn't lift his arm. He finished the game. I think we all know Jalen Hurts wanted to play against the New York Jets, was fighting to play against the New York Jets, but the Eagles made the difficult decision of leaning on the medical and training staff and saying, you know what, it's probably better. Probably the bye had something to do with it as well. Understanding, get yourself completely healthy for the stretch run. How difficult, how political does a coaching staff have to be with a young quarterback? Did they go to him and say, well, Jason's a potential future Hall of Famer? Yeah. How do you handle those two different situations when players want to play?
Well, when you talk about your young quarterback, and we've all agreed that you need this full season to thoroughly evaluate what Jalen Hurts is going to be for this organization moving forward. They've got some important decisions for this organization beyond 2021. When you look at the multitude of draft picks they have coming up for 2022. In a Jason Kelce situation, because Jason Kelce has that body of work, who has played through, injuries that have knocked players out for a game or two, Jason Kelce knows his pain level better than anybody else. With a young quarterback like that, the worst thing you could have done, what if you had put him out there against the Jets and he had done irreparable damage to that ankle and he's done for the season? Now this entire season is in the hands of Gardner Minshew. I think we all, and then when I say we all, fans and media alike, would be sitting here lambasting the Eagles organization. Why did you put him out there if his ankle wasn't 100%? So you're right. It's a business decision they had to make. And I do think, I like what you said, John, because I said the same thing. I laugh when people say it was the Jets. But I think they made a very appropriate business decision because of who they were playing. Now, the Jets did have a couple of quality wins on their schedule, but I think this coaching staff, when they looked at the matchups across the board, realized that they could dominate if they stuck to their game, which primarily was that running game. If they stuck to that game plan, and they could handle the Jets, which they did thoroughly. It was close for a while, but then the Eagles pulled away with that running game, and of course, Gardner Minshew's throwing the wide receivers wide open, in a lot of cases as well. I think this team is being cautious with Jalen Hurts because of what I said a few moments ago. They need to sit back when the season is over, whether it ends at the end of the regular season or whether they get in the playoffs and they bow out in the first round or second round or whatever the case may be. They need to sit down and have a collaborative meeting, scouts, front office, coaches alike, and determine moving forward what is Jalen Hurts to this organization. Because I have said on multiple platforms over the last week, I think people should get ready for the fact that you have Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew again in 2022. When you look at what's in front of them in terms of free agency, you think Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers is going to come here unless Howie Roseman is able to pull what he pulled in 2017 and sprinkle a lot of seasoned vets on this roster by way of free agency? They're talking about there's no surefire quarterback, first-round quarterback in this upcoming draft. Well, we all know that changes by the time you get through the combine and their own personal workouts. But if you have somebody in place, it's not that bad of a thing to have a young quarterback in your system the second year. Now that you know you can run the football, and by running the football, you don't have to have that quarterback pass the football as much. And, oh, by the way, he can also aid your running game as well. So that's why I think, it was the perfect scenario, the perfect storm. We don't need Jalen for this game. We do need him for these last 4 divisional games. Let's take that approach, and that's exactly what they did.
D-Gun, I want to back it up with you. About 10.5 months ago, when the Eagles made the decision, kind of a week late, that they were going to make a change at the head coach position, and they moved away from Doug Peterson. And the owner, Jeff Lurie, came out in explaining it and said that he and Doug had a different vision of where they were. Doug was more worried about winning this year, and the Eagles were looking at this as a transition phase. Well, here we sit. John just ran down the odds from the odds website that the Eagles are the favorite right now to get the 7th spot in the playoffs, which means in the playoffs. That's a hell of a transition if you're making the postseason in a transition year. If they don't, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I want the answer to this question. If they don't, how will this season be viewed? Will there be any repercussions of we could have made the playoffs, we should have made the playoffs, we didn't make the playoffs? If they come up short for whatever reason, how will this season be viewed? Do you have enough information to even speculate on that answer?
Well, if you go back to when they made the coaching transition, the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, came out and told us, get ready for a transitional year. Basically meaning we are rebuilding, retooling, however they wanted to define it. So a lot of people felt, me included, this was going to be a 6 or 7 win team, when the season started. And nobody, I don't think, projected this team as a playoff team, considering you got rid of your franchise quarterback. You're moving in another direction with the head coach. You're going on a youth movement at some of the skill position players. You really didn't know what you have in defense. We all thought that linebacker situation was going to be a huge liability, which it was for a lot of this season. But that position has gotten a little bit more stabilized as we move forward. So if this team doesn't make the playoffs, let's say they go 2-2 down the stretch, well, they finish the season 8-9. I think a lot of people will be surprised by the fact that they're still even relevant at this point. We're still talking about the Eagles as a possible playoff team. And as we've watched this season unfold week in and week out, man, expect the unexpected. We just don't know what's going to happen. Look at all the teams that have risen up and bitten teams that are supposed to be better teams. Look at some of the better teams that have struggled. Now, Baltimore may be without a quarterback for a while, with Lamar Jackson situation. So you can't predict anything. So if this team would finish 8-9, would people be disappointed? Yes. But, you're talking about a Washington team, as we saw before they played Dallas, has a very good defensive team. Okay, so now they've got a couple of nicked up key spots, the quarterback, the wide receiver, and a couple of offensive linemen. We don't know how long they're going to be out. The one lineman that was taken off in a cart, anytime you take it off in a cart, that's not a good thing. But, they get to face this Washington team, twice in the span of 3 weeks. You get a rematch with the Giants. Daniel Jones hasn't played the last couple of games. We don't know what his situation is, but we do know what the Giants are. But yet we also know the Giants are able to rise up as they did and bit the Eagles. And before that, they beat the Raiders at home 23-16. So nothing is given. And as they always say, it's an old adage, but it's so true. That's why you play the games. But the Eagles are in a very good position to take care of their own. Would there be extreme disappointment considering they're right on that cusp of getting the playoffs? Obviously. But if they don't, if they stay relevant until the last game of the season, I think we'll take that at this point.
Yeah, meaningful football in the holiday season. That's all we want, T-Gun. But you're right. We have a 13-game sample size now. And we have that late bye week and opportunity for the coaching staff to self-scout and look at themselves. Anything you see that they should change coming out of the bye, and I'm specifically looking at a Nelson Aguilar-like situation with Jalen Reagor. You remember when Doug Peterson sat Nelson down for a game? I think it was after the Seattle sort of issue where he had a number of drops.
Yep.
Jalen Reagor's obviously struggling with his confidence. Do you sit him down? Do you say take a step back?
Well, basically, you've already have by giving him a week off. So he's had that week to clear his mind and get ready for what's to come. I think the best thing you can do with a player in that situation is put him back on the bicycle and let him ride it again. You can fall down and scrape your knees a number of times, but then you got to get up and keep riding that bicycle if you're going to learn how to ride the bike. And I think Nick Sirianni's done a really good job with him. You're not expecting him to be your primary weapon. You sprinkle him in here or there with the jet sweeps, and things like that. And I think he did have, 1 or 2 catches the last game against the Jets, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how you sprinkle him in. Unfortunately, right now we're looking at a 2-man passing game with Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, and you're not getting very much else from the likes of Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor. I'm surprised Greg Ward is still in a witness protection program. I think Greg Ward could tremendously help this passing game. It seems like every time that guy catches a pass, it's for a first down. And I don't understand why they're not utilizing him more. But it is what it is right now, and the formula has been working. So I don't think they're going to change in any way, shape, or form. What you see is what you're going to get moving forward.
Want to ask about a position on his team, the D gun. Quite frankly, I'm not sure where it's going or what the Eagles are doing or how they're handling it. And that's safety. Last game against the Jets, Rodney McLeod played less snaps than he has in a game as an Eagle since he's been here, and that's 6 years worth that they were running 3 different safeties in there, Harris and Marcus Epps, who John likes to call Epsy, who is actually playing better football. I got to give him props, but it's less Rodney McLeod than it has been for a long time. Are the Eagles good enough at safety for this last 4-game run?
I think so. When you consider who they're going to face now, it would be interesting to see how their safety situation holds up when they have to play Dallas at the end of the season, if Dallas needs that game for positioning, for playoff positioning. But when you look at the other 3 opponents that they're going to face, I think the safety position is good enough. If they're going to continue to use that rotation of Rodney and Marcus Epps and Anthony Harris, I think considering who they're matching up against, yes. As we sit here right now, yes, I would have to say that safety position is good enough. And let's face it, whether it's good enough or not, that's all they have. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to get any better. So yeah, I think right now, if Jonathan Gannon continues to play the way they've been playing, have the corners come down and play more bump and run, force the quarterback to pat the ball a little bit more, let the dogs in the trenches get after the quarterback a little bit more. I think the safe guys on the back end are good enough to hold up at this point.
I think, defensively, D-Gun, I think because of what is going on with the offense and Gardner Minshew coming on, we're always talking about Jalen Hurts. We just talked about the struggles of Jalen Reagor, the passing game versus the running game. All of a sudden, that defense is taken on the back burner, and sort of nobody's paying attention because they're solid. Not great, but I think they're 11th in the NFL. In total defense. From where it started to where we are now, and we saw early in the season when they're playing the Tom Brady's of the world, the Patrick Mahomeses, the Justin Herberts, even those 80-90% completion rates with Derek Carr, to where we are now, is it just playing lesser quarterbacks or are they getting better?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think it's because, number one, yes, they have played lesser quarterbacks after that wave of quarterbacks that you talked about, but also because the offense's ability to sustain drives. When you're talking about they've had how many, on an average, 3 to 4, drives per game now that are 8-play, 9-play, 11-play drives. It has allowed that defense to be fresher, coming back into the games. And I think that has made a difference. And we've seen Jonathan Gannon make some slight alterations. I can't talk enough about the cornerbacks now. Darius Slay and Steve Nelson, they want to play bump and run. That's what they want to do. They want to get physical. They don't want to sit back 10, 12 yards off the ball and let the receiver catch everything underneath and they have to come up and make the tackles. No. Look at the difference in Darius Slay's game since Jonathan Gannon has allowed the guys to play bump and run. He had 3 touchdowns in 4 games. You look at the completion percentage against him over the last 4 games or so compared to what it was earlier in the season. So they're playing this style of play. And I think the way this defense is structured, it's a direct correlation for the cornerbacks that have been able to knock a lot of receivers off their routes or to stay with receivers that have helped the guys in the trenches be more disruptive, especially the likes of Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox to be more disruptive in the trenches. Look at the consistent pushes they're getting, forcing quarterbacks to step off their spots a lot more, forcing quarterbacks to pat the ball a little bit more, trying to survey a situation. So I think it's a combination of everything. I think the offense has definitely benefited the defense. And I do think because Jonathan Gannon has finally made some alterations in his overall schemes, the overall product has been that much better.
D-Gun, 4 games left, 3 of which are at home. Yeah, Lincoln Financial Field.
Yep.
Oh, shoot. The Eagles are 1-4 at home this year. They're guaranteed not to have a winning record at home. The best they can do is 500.
Yeah.
Why? Happenstance, coincidence, scheduling. I'd like to think that the Link is still a home field advantage for the Eagles, but as Bill Parcells once said, your record is what you are what your record says you are, and they're 1-4 at home. What do you read into it?
I read into it. Look at the heavyweight schedule they had the first part of that season, and you look at the quarterbacks they were playing early on, and you look at the teams that they were playing early on at home, and you're talking about teams that have already established themselves in terms of what they were offensively and defensively compared to an Eagles team that was evolving as it went along on both sides of the football. And because that schedule was so front heavy, it was a learning tool. It was a disappointing learning tool in a lot of ways for this Eagles team under new direction, under new quarterback, implementing the likes of a Devonta Smith, trying to figure out who you were at linebacker, what you wanted to be on a defense. I think a combination of those things really hurt the Eagles in terms of getting off to a better start. But, with the advent of the running game, again, changes in the defensive concepts as they learned, they got better as they went along, as they took beatings, as the L's piled up, the coaching staff, the players got better, the concepts got better, and it gelled at the right time for this team. So by the time they got to a more favorable part of the schedule, things started to go a lot better for this team.
All right, D-Gun, I saved the toughest one for last for you. And obviously, watch Derrick Gunn right here, JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You see the backdrop there, 6abc.com as well, the live post-game show. You got Gunn on One, the podcast, doing some work for Eagles.com, Wisconsin's greatest NFL reporter. And by the way, you Wisconsin people are so spoiled with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So spoiled. 30 consecutive years of Hall of Fame quarterback play. The most spoiled fan base in America. But I digress. Here's the difficult question, Terry. Who's your favorite, Mark Parzetta or Devin Caney? I know I'm not in the conversation. So Mark Parzetta or Devin Caney?
Well, you have to put yourself in there as well. and I will give you the politically correct answer. I love everybody I work with. I've had a lot of fun. If you ask me, if you're going to twist my arm and force me to give you an answer, then you're going to have to just break my arm, because I've enjoyed working with both. Mark and I have history from NBC Sports Philadelphia. Didn't know much about Devin before we started this venture when the season kicked off, but I think she's been a great asset to the program. I love her personality. I love her insight. I love her candidness. So you're not going to get me on this one, John.
You're a pro, man. You're too smooth.
He's not a pro. He's a dope. Are you kidding me? Here's what I would say.
Right.
Mark Parzetta or Devin Lane Johnson. He's the biggest guy. When in doubt, always side with the biggest guy. If a fight's going to break out, go with the big guy. Farzetta would run. There's not even a question. You got to go Lane Johnson, D-Gun.
But I don't know. I don't know if Farzetta could take Devin in a fight. I don't know. I don't know. Devin's pretty good.
You stand behind Lane Johnson. You're perfectly fine.
Yeah,
let them duke it out themselves.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a collaborative effort. We're all family. John McMullen, great insight from outside the locker room after games. Y'all can't pick a favorite. Everybody has their part, and it meshes well. So you can't ask me to, upset somebody, because I know it's going to happen. I'll get a call from Devin or Mark.
That's what I was trying to create.
You picked her over me. You picked him over me. Thanks, D-Gun. Oh, no. No, I'm not going to upset the apple cart right now. We're Camelot.
Yes.
We're Camelot right now. Let there be peace among the masses.
Gotta love John McMullen. Throws the match and walks in the other direction. Thank you very much for that, JM. D-Gun, thanks much for hopping on with us. We'll certainly be watching you on Sunday. Listen to you on The Fanatic, D-Gun one-on-one. Yeah, everywhere. We know you got 97 platforms. Thanks for coming on our platform today, big guy.
Hey, man, thank you for having me on. Always love talking football with you guys.
Thanks, D-Gun.
That is Derrick Gunn here on Birds 365. How about McMullen stirring the pot and trying to cause trouble?
It's a tough one. I told you.
That's not usually your bailiwick. I like the fact that you are.
Sure. I'm a troublemaker.
Yeah, a little bit. I like that. All right, John McMullen, Jerry McDonald. We've still got almost 10 minutes left. Come back. Couple more things we'll add to the mix leading into the return of the Philadelphia Eagles from the bye week in playoff position. I got D-Gun to answer that question about what happens if they don't make it. I'll make John answer it next. Since he's causing trouble, I'm going to cause trouble for him. Come right back with us here on Birds 365.